Hello and welcome to a presentation for Business 345, Introduction to International Business. My name is Casey and I'm a senior at SUNY Brockport. This presentation will give you a brief overview of the nation of Pakistan. It will discuss various aspects of the nation as it pertains to factors related to business that a potential entrepreneur would be interested in finding out. So without further ado, Pakistan is a country wedged between Afghanistan and India. Geographically, it is a medium-sized nation and home to an enormous population. It is estimated that over 240 million people inhabit this land, making it one of the most populous nations on earth. In terms of economic strength, it has a GNI that is between 1,110 and 2,350 US dollars. With that being said, it is considered a developing nation. However, the country is rich in some resources that may be of interest to an investor or an entrepreneur. The land is quite arable and does boast large oil reserves as well as iron ore and salt. On the other hand, it has poor quality coal within its borders. Within Pakistani society, there are unfortunately many grievous problems. There's a high risk of infectious disease here as well. The nation has also suffered from the coronavirus. One source estimates that by the end of March, Pakistan had over 1.52 million cases, with roughly 13.75 deaths per 100,000. This is one nation that still has a high risk for polio. Literacy rates here are only at about 58%, and that may not be wholly accurate. On a side note, girls in general are often prevented from having an education. Unemployment rates are relatively high as well at about 7.9%. Within civil society, the inhabitants are routinely exposed to oppression from the government. That includes media suppression, NGOs, and those on the other side of the political spectrum. Even the peaceful are bullied. There is an ongoing problem with the persecution of religious minorities in the country perpetuated by the government. In addition, cops often carry out murders outside of the law without reprisal. Gender-based violence in Pakistan is especially heinous. The government fails to protect women and girls, many of whom are subject to forced marriages and murders in the name of religion. However, this may change to some degree after the vote of no confidence for the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. The Kashmiri conflict is always a cross-border conflict that can heat up. There are also very serious issues within the country related to human trafficking. This often involves indebted laborers. Along with the previous heinous crime, there are often many terrorist networks at large. In terms of workforce, it is important for any manager to know that this nation has a real problem with worker exploitation and terrible work conditions. The protection of the worker and quality of life for employees should be, if not the top concern of any manager, one of the most pertinent focuses, not only for the worker, but for the image of the prospective company. According to the World Happiness Report, Pakistan is 121st out of 146 countries this year, making it a rather unhappy country overall. The economy of Pakistan is not too great either. Unfortunately, this is attributed to a perpetual distrust in political climate leading to low investment from abroad. Human development in the country as a whole is also quite low. Some concrete numbers in 2020 were that the GDP was at 1.021 trillion, real GDP in 2017 at about 5.4%. The real GDP per capita was only at about $4,600, and that was ranked 177th in the world. Its chief contributors to the GDP were services at 56.5% in 2017, agriculture at 24.4% in 2016, and industry at 19.1% in 2016. According to the CIA Factbook, Pakistan's main agricultural products are sugarcane, buffalo milk, and wheat at the very top of the list. And according to the same source, its most productive industries are textile and apparels, food processing, and pharmaceuticals, and several other things. Pakistan does most of its exporting to the US, and most of its imports are from China. And 24.3% of the population was below the poverty line in 2015. With the recent ousting of Khan, there is widespread insecurity and instability. This is predicted to a tie in economics as there is already evidence for this. Some experts believe that inflation may reach beyond 15% by summer. Food prices are already high and climbing beyond 15.5%. This is thought to be tied into the social unrest as well. They're also expected to have a serious balance of payments crisis and the worst fiscal deficit on record. It also has very low reserves for dealing with their trade deficit, which is at $35 billion. The most abundantly sold source, however, is agriculture. This comprises 1/5 of the total output. Half of its revenue from exports comes from textiles. There's also believed to be a large black market in Pakistan. The Pakistani rupee remained quite stable compared to the US dollar from 2015, with a 10% drop in value within the months between November 2017 and March 2018. On a related note, the Chinese and Pakistanis have started a plan to increase development. With the formation of the China-Pakistan Energy Corridor, $60 billion is going toward development and energy. Pakistan's government believes that this will increase the GDP by at least 6%. The International Monetary Fund, on the other hand, has different beliefs about this endeavor. Innovation in Pakistan also lacks. According to the Global Innovation Index by Global Edge, the Pakistanis rank 99th out of 132 countries as of last year. Its score on global entrepreneurship is quite low at 109th out of 137. It's 121 out of 127 countries on the Property Rights Index. They also score only about 33 out of 180 countries in relation to environmental performance for those that are environmentally conscious. And Pakistan is 108th out of 189 countries as it pertains to the ease of doing business. However, it is important to note that Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.